Members of the committee, members of the council, if everyone will retake their seats, we will continue on. We are joined by the folks from Public Works, Mr. Randy Lovett, the director. Mr. Lovett, if you will introduce those with you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to my left Mark Macy, who's our Assistant Director for Engineering. To my right, I have Sharon Wallstrom, who's our Assistant Director for Finance and Administration.
Your threshold question is, can you operate within the mayor's proposed budget?
Yes, sir. We're satisfied with the mayor's proposed budget.
With that, you're recognized for any comments you wish to make.
Okay. I wanted to wait for the question before I introduced. I have several.
Oh, sure. No, you're fine. Introduce whoever you wish.
Okay. I have several other staff members with me today that's in the audience that I'd like to, at a minimum, recognize. I have Mr. Chip Knupp, our Chief Traffic Engineer, Cody Osborne, who's over our recycling and waste management, Philip Jones over special ops, Billy Davis, who's within the engineering division, Billy Fields, who's over transportation licensing, Sharon Smith, who's over beautification, Paul Hiltz, finance manager, and Mr. Don Reed, our paving manager. I'm very happy to have all these people with us today, staff-wise. It's an important point that I'd like to make before I start with a brief presentation that Mark and Sharon both are assistant directors in our department. They do an excellent job, but in my mind, it's the next level right before the assistant director. If you have strong management, leadership in your department, that makes the difference, and that is the reason for the success of the Metro Public Works Department, and they're all sitting on the front row there, and I'm very proud of them because that's the next level. They do not get the recognition they deserve. They do an excellent job every day because these are the people that's in the street. I would start, Mr. Chairman and committee, with the approximately 380 Metro Public Works employees provide a variety of services every day. I will only mention a few to try to stay brief, but I'd like to point out just a few areas within the department that I think stand out. Our call center, which we operate, handles about 100,000 calls a year. Approximately 40,000 of those calls turn into service requests for the Public Works Department. This is pretty much a critical area in the department. Many times this is the first and sometimes maybe the only person a citizen ever talks to. They call with a problem, they ask for service, they ask for help, they need information, whatever. So we really stress customer service, obviously, in this area, and they do an exceptional job, and I'm proud to recognize them. Stacy McCoy Jones is the lead person in this area. I know many of you deal with Stacy on a regular basis. The next area I'd like to point out is our operations, or special ops. I mentioned Mr. Philip Jones. He leads this area. There are key maintenance people. They're really the backbone of the departments where most of the employees and the equipment reside. They do everything from patching potholes, trimming trees. They work in the roadway every day, mowing. I would point out also that's where our brush operation is, 4 rotations a year now, thanks to y'all. And this past year, this crew collected approximately 23,000 tons of brush. Very impressive. They also repair and place new traffic signs. They repaired about 3,300 traffic signs last year, put up about 1,300 new ones. This is also the area for our night cleaning crew downtown. You hear me every year talk about this crew. They do an exceptional job. They work 7 nights a week, so every morning when people drive through, we have clean streets and the downtown looks nice. This is also where all of our winter operations would reside. This is our salt trucks. We were pretty lucky this winter. We had a few incidents, but everybody was on call. Everybody did a great job. It works very well. Next area I would mention is recycling waste management. That's Mr. Cody Osborne, who's our lead there. This section of the department serviced 91,000 homes monthly for USD recycling, curbside, approximately 127,000 homes for refuse on a weekly basis in the USD. They also operate 12 drop-off sites and 3 convenience centers. They collected about 20,000 tons in recyclables last year. 229 tons of those were e-waste. The next area I would mention is beautification. That's headed by Sharon Smith, who I introduced. Our beautification area conducted 376 recycling education programs to over 25,000 students and adults this past year. The community service program also manages our community service workers, referred to us from state trial courts and general sessions court. The community service worker program is responsible for picking up last year about 1.3 million pounds of litter, illegal dumping, 1,900 illegally dumped tires, and mowed about 216 vacant lots. They supplement our staff at the convenience centers also. We estimate this program in labor cost avoidance for the department is over $1 million a year. Very successful program, very proud of it. The next I'd mention is Taxi Cab and Licensing Commission. That's this past year was moved into the Public Works Department. It's led by Mr. Billy Fields, who does a great job. This agency is responsible for regulating vehicles for hire, taxi cabs, wreckers, sedans, limousines, horse-drawn carriages. I think in this past just a few months, they added an additional 370 taxi cab permits. The total now is about 1,125. I would point out 40 of those are ADA accessible cabs. And I would like to, sometimes I forget to do this, I'd like to recognize the TLC, the board members, for the fine job they do. They really serve the community well. And I'd also like to back up just one and recognize the Beautification Commission. They do a great job. They're very dedicated servants on these boards and commissions. Next area I'd mention is engineering capital projects, headed by Mr. Macy here to my left. I would point out just a few facts about this area. Our permit office resides here. They issued about 25,000 permits last year. The plans review area reviewed about 2,900 construction and development plans. I think these both are pretty good barometers. The economy's doing pretty well around here when that many permits and those plans come in. We also maintain and are responsible for rehabbing on about 320 bridges. The engineering division also supervises and manages about $100 million in capital projects. There's numerous capital projects going on. I would like to just mention two that we're very excited about that are very current. One is the Harding Place Sidewalk and Pedestrian Enhancement Project. It's 3 phases. We're already under construction in phase 1. The next will be the 46th Avenue North and Murphy Road roundabout, which we recently broke ground on. That will result in a single-lane roundabout, new parking spots, decorative street lights, and native landscaping. This is a complete street project, I would point out. Another area in the engineering division, very important section, is our traffic and parking management. That's headed by Mr. Chip Knupp, who's with us today. Chip does an outstanding job. This area works continuously in these intersections throughout town. They conduct probably in the neighborhood of 100 traffic studies a month. This could be anything from traffic calming to speeding or whatever the issue might be. I would also point out that they manage about 800 signalized intersections, over 2,000 parking meters. The next area I would mention is sidewalks, bikeways, and paving. Mr. Don Reed, our paving managers over these areas in the engineering division. The sidewalk area manages about 1,000 linear miles of sidewalk, about 140 miles of bikeways. This past year, they completed about 102 sidewalk repair projects in the past year. In the paving, Don does an excellent job of trying to find new ways to do pavement preservation, whether it be fog seal, crack seal, infrared repair. He's constantly being proactive in that area, and it pays big dividends because if you can make your paving last longer, if you can protect your streets, it saves us money. Obviously, it's a very good program. He does an excellent job. This past year, Don completed the paving area, completed about 176 paving projects. These paving projects covered all 35 council districts. They're all over the county. And Don's a very popular fellow this time of year with everyone. The budget is approximately $77.5 million for operating budget. The only enhancements we really had this year is an additional $500,000 for NES to have us pay our electric bill for streetlights, and an additional $220,000 for CPI normal contracts we manage on a regular basis. But I'm very excited, outside the operating budget in the capital spending plan, we have a fourth convenience center proposed, and we're very excited about this. We work very hard to try to have convenience centers. We only have 3 now. This will be a fourth one to be out on Eazell Pike is the location we've determined, and this will really help us geographically because it'll help represent the south part of the county. I need to thank Sheriff Darren Hall immensely for this because the project would not have come about without Sheriff Hall's cooperation. This is his property out here we're moving in, so we're working in conjunction with them. They've been a good partner on this project. I also need to thank Councilmember Karen Johnson because I know she was very interested in this for her support on this project, so we're very excited about that. In closing, I'm proud of the accomplishments of the Public Works Department. Our mission is to provide clean neighborhoods, a safe multimodal transportation network, infrastructure, and facilities that promote the highest quality of life for citizens, visitors, and businesses. We'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Lovett. Obviously, the operating budget will spark many questions. Let's go back to the capital once more, because included in the $63 million for you all is something that is hugely important to this entire council. It does, I'm correct, include $17 million in sidewalks?
That's correct.
And $30 million in the paving roads and bikeways area?
That's correct.
In addition to the $2 million for the new convenience center?
Correct.
Okay, let's just say that one more time, because I'm, in the strongest terms, this council has spoken many times about sidewalks. There's $17 million in this capital budget geared towards sidewalks, correct?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Tigert.
All right, so I'll start on sidewalks based on that point of emphasis, and that is huge. Will we have a list of the priority projects of those before the capital budget is
I'll defer.
voted on?
I'll defer to Mr. Macy, who's technically over the sidewalk program.
You'll need to share your microphone.
Okay.
There's another one over that you could use to your right.
And Mark, you don't have to give me, I'm just saying, will there be a list based on your priority scoring system and the input you've received from district council members, et cetera?
We have a rather large list of projects, more than 17 million that...
So what will be the criteria on which projects will get selected and which will not?
We always use the strategic plan for sidewalks that was presented to this council several years ago. It was a plan that used a lot of public input to come up with the criteria, and we always look at pedestrian generators where the most people come from, and schools, libraries, parks, and so on. And then we always go out and basically do a sanity check on them as well to make sure that they're the right place to do them.
So they rank 1 through 300?
What they'll rank is a score, and some of them, you know, I don't think they're 1 through 300, but there'll be a group that's near the top and so on.
So will you be in a position to share that list with us before we vote on this budget?
I can certainly share all the sidewalk needs, yes, sir.
Okay, and it will give us the highest priority, the middle, the lowest, or future wishes and that type thing, so we don't have any confusion as to who gets what and what areas, and they're spread all over town and based on a comprehensive non-biased system.
You know that all of our capital program is spread throughout every district. Well over 90% of our program is outside the downtown area. We reach into every district with sidewalks and paving and traffic, and as well as our call center operation.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, can I flash up one picture about sidewalks?
You can.
And Mark is aware of this, but obviously the efficient use and coordination of...
Don't let anyone think that visual aids is a trend we want to, but you're to indulge you here.
This is not, but I just want to show people that it's not a figment of my imagination, and but this is a recent, Councilman Westerholm is certainly aware of this. This is in his district. All right, this is Chapel Avenue, an existing pole, and NES needed to replace a pole, and this is their solution.
If I may just correct you on one thing.
Okay.
Mark, if you pull the microphone just a little closer, please. I'm sorry, just make sure everyone hears you.
This is actually an AT&T pole.
Okay.
It is not an NES pole. It has but I think the point that you want to make is the same whether whose ever pole it is.
Whether it's Metro-owned, NES-owned, or a telephone.
Right, there's about 200,000 poles that are planted within Metro's right-of-way. Probably 85% of them are NES poles, probably 12 or 13% are AT&T, and we actually own a couple percent of those poles. Most of our poles are signal poles. But this is not unusual for us to see this. We don't like it, but there are some places in our world of right-of-way where there's not many good places to put this pole without buying an additional easement or right-of-way.
Well, I'm not going to make you speak for AT&T,
Okay.
but, you know, a pole in the middle of an existing sidewalk that needs to be replaced, some exploration needs to be given before you just plop it down next to it and perpetuate the same problem.
Right, we've asked AT&T to move this pole, and we've asked them to move it closer to the curb. That's really where we'd like to have all the furnishings, is out closer to the curb, so that the space behind these furnishings, and furnishings can be poles or signs or mailboxes or whatever.
Or cables or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just showing council members that this is a new passion of mine, and it's basically, if you wouldn't want this in your front yard, the utility companies shouldn't be allowed to do that. Do they have to get any approval process, or?
On pole placements, we do not ask them to get permits. We do ask them to work with us, and NES actually, and AT&T, they try to put these poles in better places. Obviously, this didn't happen in this one, and we've asked them to take care of it.
Okay. What is surplus parking property, an increase in $237,000?
That is a surplus fund account that we manage with the downtown partnership for the parking garages, so that's additional money to restripe the garages, do some concrete repairs, different items like that.
Is it offset by income?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Convenience center, great news for South Nashville on their center. Obviously, we have one underserved part of town, the west side of town. Are there explorations ongoing to locate something on the one underserved part of town?
Councilmember, we're always looking for an area for a convenience center. I mean, we're fully aware that the three we have are pretty much in one quadrant. This will help us immensely, but you're exactly right. And you're probably aware the difficulty is finding the location.
Okay.
And obviously, you find the money to fund it. It's not easy, but finding the location is very difficult. That's why we were very fortunate with this one to have a kind of a partnership with the Sheriff's Department.
Can you send us out the criteria that you look for in terms of zoning, visibility, infrastructure, or whatever, so they can, some of us that live on that side of town and
Sure,
that have
absolutely.
to go to Omahandro or somewhere?
More set of eyes out looking for this would be great.
Okay.
Sure, be glad to.
Good news on the paving dollars, obviously, but I'm going to ask the question. I get more calls about potholes and whatnot. Over time, have we provided you enough money for paving? Are we in catch-up mode? Or, I mean, I'm sure if we doubled it, you'd find the use, or Mr. Reed would find the good use to do that. So the question is, will this sufficiently cover the road system and the expectations of our driving population or biking or walking population?
Yes, I think so, but you're exactly right. I mean, there's always going to be more needs and resources, but this is really a substantial shot in the arm, I think, and we'll be able to do some great things with this. I personally like to thank the administration for, this is really making a serious step, and they've been very good about this in the past also, so this on top, and everything that Mr. Reed's doing trying to develop the pavement preservation, yes, this will be excellent.
Yeah, and I would commend Greg and Rich and the administration, the mayor. I just felt like we've sort of been in catch-up mode for a while. And
I think you're right, and I think they've made a huge commitment. This is going to be a huge improvement. Yes, sir.
Okay, and I see some increases in solid waste disposal. What is our, and you may want to just respond later on this, what is our short and long-term solid waste cost projections in terms of contracts, landfilling cost, and do we have any major obstacles in the future coming up?
We may have to respond to you later on that. We have that type data. Some of it's going to be policy-minded, but we'll be able to.
That'd be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation, Randy, and appreciate you guys being here. Really appreciate all your staff and crew, Stacy and everybody I work with. Herbie King did a ride-along recently. Everything's been just amazing. Wanted to, on the solid waste thing, I was just curious what we had a big shift in numbers there. Was that shifting more to the USD, the 4 million GSD, 2 million USD, just on your general budget impact? I was just curious about that, what that big shift was.
That's a number that's determined by the finance office whenever they're looking at the metro budget as a whole. So
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
those numbers are just transferring money into the solid waste fund to cover their expenditures.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I'll just echo, wonderful investment in the sidewalks and the paving this year. That's a tremendous number that we will all make good use of. The other thing, we've been talking a lot about recycling, and I know you guys are doing everything you can with the numbers we have. I just am thinking, generally speaking, would love to get to twice a month. Obviously not this year, but just a friendly challenge to you guys. Maybe next year we can try for the twice a month. Just figure out how to move us over there. And I know it's not cheap and not an easy thing to do, but heard from a lot of constituents about that. I think that would be a really great step. Obviously, Public Works can only work with the resources we give them. So, just something maybe we could work on for next year. And also, in that vein, we might have to move forward with the fees for the second cart. I don't know how all those numbers shake out, but at least somehow try for the twice a month recycling would be awesome. And thank you guys for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Stein. All I want to say is a lot of kudos. I'm just thankful to Mr. High Note, Rich Riebling, Mayor Dean, the entire administration, and your leadership, Mr. Lovett. It's just been tremendous. Since starting on the council, I have seen a lot of work come from the Public Works Department. I mean, you all work tremendously hard. Stacy, she responds immediately. And in the past, when I was on the other side, as a citizen, it wasn't as quick as it is now. And it's just not just me being a council person. I have had actual constituents who have sent in requests, and they just could not believe the time frame of response that they received from Stacy and your customer service division. I could go on about Mark Macy and Don Reed and both of the Billies and everybody within your department is just outstanding. And so I don't really have anything to complain about. I just wanted to give a lot of kudos to you all, and I am looking forward to the sidewalk projects. That is just tremendous that has been placed in this budget and made a priority, and we're just continuing to look forward to your great leadership. Thank you.
Councilwoman Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. I have two words: unparalleled responsiveness. On behalf of everybody up there, I know, Mark, you and I'll see each other tomorrow, but Herbie King, Sharon, everybody helping me to work out that C&D landfill bill. I just can't thank you guys enough for all the work that you do.
Thank you very much, Councilman. That's very
Councilman
much appreciated.
Claiborne.
I just want to say that all your folks do a great job with the resources that they have. And I want to give one particular shout out, I guess, to the young lady who manages the Omohundro Convenience Center. She keeps that place better than a lot of houses that I've been in. And she does a great job out there.
I'll make sure she's aware of your comments.
Councilwoman Langster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say thank you to Mr. Lovett. Stacy Jones is wonderful. You must tell her the kudos she received here tonight. And Mark Macy, you know, he's always there for me. He's the first line that I go to. If I can't get him, then I go to Stacy. And I must say thank you for the sidewalk investments. And Mr. Reed, I tease him a lot, but he does a fine job in that regard with the bike lanes and the sidewalks and the streets. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And especially to Mark Macy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Westerholm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to follow up on a couple of matters brought up by some other council members. I certainly share Councilman Tigard's concern with some utility pole issues, and certainly appreciate your attentiveness to the issue that he presented that was on Chapel over in East Nashville. A quick follow-up on the sidewalks. I know that Mr. Macy, you had mentioned the last sidewalk master plan being a number of years ago. Are you aware of any plans to update that master plan, or that strategic plan?
No, I don't know of any plans to update it. We're always, I think it works really good right now, but we haven't had any action to update it yet. I would guess that the next administration would want to do that. This administration did.
And I guess sort of a follow-up to that, as far as some of the planning going on throughout the Nashville Next process, I know you guys have been involved in that in some capacities. Is that going to what extent is that going to be shifting some of your budgetary priorities, or will it shift any budgetary priorities in the years ahead as we see different shifts or growth in different parts of the community?
I don't know. I would speculate that the major priorities will always be the major priorities in pretty much the same areas. I mean, we work off a lot of needs, and we always try to fix the worst spot first. That's some pretty basic philosophies, but they're hard to argue against.
All right, well, again, and I would echo everyone else's comments that we do appreciate the efforts of your entire department, and would also close by echoing the comment from Councilman Davis that there is a lot of interest in additional recycling that I've heard as well. I know that we've had this conversation in the past that one of the current concerns, as I recall, was that participation in recycling still needs to increase. It's not quite cost effective. I guess one more quick question. Have we done a better job in certain neighborhoods, or just as a city, on the participation in recycling?
To be quite frank, my history's not very far back, council member, but it's remained pretty static. I mean, I don't see huge improvements in the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
We have a curbside program that's once a month. I don't see the numbers really improving, where we're at right now, just to be perfectly frank.
Okay.
But we're still trying.
Yeah, well, I think that...
I think some of those education programs, I love the fact that we're investing so much in the education. The children come to watch these programs. Jeffrey Ezel does a fantastic job with this, and the better... the more emphasis you put on that, the next generation coming up, and we have a lot of parents that attend these also, so all that pays dividends, and I think we'll see results from that down the road.
All right, well, I think that, if there's a way to, I think there's a number of us on the council that are very interested in seeing, or helping to find ways to improve increase the number of pickups to possibly twice a month, and certainly perhaps more investment in the pay-as-you-throw system could be a part of that as well.
Sure. Well, we appreciate your support. We appreciate all the council's support in this area.
Councilman Pridemore.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Love, for being here. Ms. Stacy, I can't top any more accolades than what you've already gotten, so I won't go there, but thank you. My question is about telephone, not the utility poles. Again, they're in our easement, is that correct? But they're owned by several different entities, like NES, AT&T.
That's correct.
In my experience with the utility poles issues, it's difficult to get each utility to, because each one has to remove their own part. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So then whomever's left, once they get around to removing transferring it to the new pole, then whose responsibility is it to remove the utility pole?
The owner of the pole.
In my experience, it's been, I had 2 poles in my front yard for 3 years. And so I fought hard for 3 years to get that pole removed, and it wasn't until I got up here, I hate to say, that I was able to get that pole removed. Is there any way possible of, I mean, if it's through legislation or what otherwise, of getting, we have a one-stop shop for codes. Why couldn't we do that for utility poles? I mean, whether it be public works, since it's on our right-of-way, it's on our easements, why couldn't we just be the final authority to say, transfer your part, your whatever part's there, your lines, and then so either you remove it or we remove it? I mean, is that something that can be done, or have you all considered that in the past?
I'd probably have to talk to my legal counsel about metro government removing somebody else's pole. I think you can do it. I don't know why we couldn't. I would believe that we could give them, say, 30 days to get their pole removed, and if you don't take action, we'll remove the pole and charge you for our services. I think we can do that.
Well, that's an issue that's countywide, and there's a lot in my district that still have 2 utility poles, not only on the sidewalk but in their yard, and it's very difficult to get them removed. So I was just trying to think of some way that we could possibly look into that.
I will look into that.
Thanks, sir.
Councilwoman Dowell.
Thank you so much. I wanted to tell you, thanks so much for the recycling center. I think it will cover itself in cost that we're spending picking up dumped items out in southeast Nashville. So I think we'll generate enough savings there to put one in Bellevue and anywhere else. But the question I wanted to ask you is about the dumpsters. Several people want those portable dumpsters like you had at Elysian Field, where you had it out on the parking lot where people can dump items there. And I'm wondering, I know that they removed them from Elysian Fields, but I've had several neighbors to ask about having some of those put out in the community. What is the cost associated with that? Do you have anything about that? Because I know
I don't know the exact cost on each dumpster. I can get that for you. We lost the site in Elysian Fields, as you're aware of. I mean, the property owner out there asked us to move it, so we're still looking for another drop-off site in that general area.
So we're going to have one back, because one of the things I know is that in our area we have a lot of apartments, and a lot of them are, don't have a place to put recycling items, want to recycle, and they end up, using that facility. So people have asked about, is there any way that we can get something like that put in an area?
We've had people in our staff, council member, that's, I think, met with a couple of schools in that area and maybe some other places looking for something close to that, because anytime you lose a drop-off site, it's very difficult. But we are currently looking for another one in that general area. But it's not quite the ordeal of trying to place a convenience center, but it still comes down to finding a good location, and that's what we're looking for in that general area right now.
Okay, but the plan is still to keep those dumpsters and have it somewhere out in the area.
Exactly.
Okay.
That'd be the goal, and we can try to keep you updated if you'd like on our progress in that area, but we are currently working on trying to find an additional site there.
Okay, that's great. I would like to be updated, because that was one of the things I was going to ask for funding for. The second thing is, I know that you all rent out that stage the performance stage, you have a couple of those stages that you rent out. Is that through you, or is it Parks? Okay, that's Parks. I got the wrong one. The other question they had was on the $17 million allocated toward the sidewalks. Now, does that budget include maintenance of existing sidewalks like in previous budgets and new, or is that $17 million toward new sidewalks?
The budget for sidewalks includes maintenance of old sidewalks as well. It's important. I mean, we have a lot of sidewalks that are failing that have been there 50 years or so, and it's important that we take care of what we got. And also a lot of this capital funds will be used for new sidewalks.
Okay, but I guess just like in previous year's budget, I think when people hear 17 million, they think, wow, that's enough for each one of us to get a project, but really, from what you're saying, is that a significant portion of that probably will be allocated toward maintaining existing sidewalks, and so we're again with just a small amount going toward new sidewalk construction.
Well, roughly half of it goes for maintenance and half of it goes for new sidewalks, new curb ramps, and new pedestrian facilities to help people.
Okay, I guess that's the only two questions I had.
Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to pick up on the sidewalk question just to beat a dead horse a little bit more. Now that brush pickup is happening 4 times a month, I never hear about that. So now what I hear about is sidewalks and how much people hope that their neighborhood or their street will be getting one of those soon. And I'm so appreciative of the repairs that I've gotten in my district, and people continue to send me thank you notes, which I try to forward to you guys because I want you to know how much those are appreciated. Is that split between maintenance and new sidewalks something that your department can decide? Is that mandated by any kind of federal mandate, or how is that determined?
The distribution of funds was determined through the public process when we developed a strategic plan. It was a combination of our recommendations and the public weighing in.
Gotcha. And then somewhere along the line, I heard something connected with the strategic plan of a total of $20 million a year, I think, to make that plan be done by such and such a time. Is that rooted in reality?
When the original plan was produced back in '02 or somewhere in there, the plan identified, let's see here, a 13-year program at $20 million a year, which did not include inflation. And so since the plan was implemented, there have been a lot of years where we did not get the $20 million a year. And so the inflation hurts a lot. So we do have a lot of backlog for new sidewalks, and it's going to be, it'll be a program that will be around a long time before we can finish it.
Great. Well, I will do whatever I can to support getting it up to the 20 million plus whatever inflation ought to have it. But thanks for what y'all are doing with what you've got. And also just to reiterate the request for increasing our recycling frequency if we can. I did have a few neighbors that I had gotten all excited and sent out the word about the increased fees for the second cart, trying to get folks ready for that months ago. And several neighbors emailed back and said, well, I can't do that unless I can have more frequent pickup. So to me, those two seem to go together, and I think also if you're charging more to throw your garbage away, that may be as good an education as what our kids are getting in school. Is if it hits them in the pocketbook, it may pay for itself. So I just iterate that as well. Thank you very much.
Councilman Dominy.
Thank you, Chairman Stein. I have several questions. Most of them have been answered on the sidewalks. I'm glad that we're investing in some of those. Hopefully they'll get some more in Southeast Davidson County around some of our schools. I got a question on the traffic signals along our major corridors. When was the last time those were synchronized to allow for efficient travel during rush hour? So we're not sitting, I've been out and about all over the city, and you're at the light, the first car, even if you're traveling the speed limit, the next light catches you red. And there ought to be a way we can synchronize those to increase the efficiency and save a lot of frustration on drivers' part, as well as reducing carbon emissions as well.
I believe it was 07. Is that, Chip, is that right? Yeah, 07, 08. And it's really a good program. The different activities around the right-of-way influence how fast we get through them. I mean, a lot of time construction activity will throw off everything, but it's one of those programs that we try to do on a regular basis because it actually saves a lot of time for people getting to work and also saves a lot of gasoline.
Right, and what would the cost be of doing that, or is there a schedule to be doing that? Do we do portion of the roads across the county on a regular schedule, or is that something we need to plan, and what would the cost be associated with that?
I think a one corridor, I think, would go for about $500,000. Say Nolensville Road or something like that. Probably to do them all along there, it'd be $500,000.
Okay, and is there a plan to do those in sequence, possibly across the county, so that our major corridors are improved as we move forward?
Yeah, we have a plan for that. I don't have it in front of me, but I can get you the answer.
I think that would be something we may want to look into, because that would be a big plus for those residents that are having to travel those on a regular basis, as well as helping reduce the expense of the gasoline, carbon emissions, et cetera. The other thing is intersections. There's a number of intersections around town, a few of them in my district where the streets have been washboarded just because of the maintenance issues over the last few years where we've had challenging budgets. Is there a plan to repair those, and what's the process that we need to do, and the time frame that people can plan on those being addressed?
Yeah, there is a plan to repair those, and it helps us if you can let us know that your primary locations, because sometimes we can fix an intersection without having to pave another mile of road. And so if you have some in mind, and that goes out to any council member, just let us know, and we'll have our people check them, do the sanity check on them, and get them in the plan.
All right. The other thing, I know we've been doing some infrared patching. I see that list. I'm curious of the guidelines as far as the pavement that's there. Do we do that for a certain age street, or how long the pavement's been down? How do we determine whether we do that or repave a whole section?
The infrared patching is extremely beneficial when we have what we call pop-outs, where the layer of asphalt just disappears for some reason. But it's a more permanent patch. And so where we have pop-outs on a road, if we can fix them with patching and improve the overall score, the rideness on the road, that's our preferred method of doing it. Eventually, we'll be back to that road to pave it. You know, all of our roads go through a cycle, and I think we're on about a 15-year cycle, plus or minus. But the more we can extend the life on a road, the bigger the bang we get out of our budget.
Does that system work on a road that's, say, 20 years old or 25 years old? Or does it lose its effectiveness after you've reached a certain level of deterioration? What's the?
It depends a lot on the traffic on the road. Galton Road won't last 20 years, okay?
Right.
It'll barely last 10. And so, but some residential streets will last 20 years. So it depends a lot on the traffic that uses the road. It depends a lot on the quality of the product that was put down. And but when you're getting to 20-year roads, you're getting to the limit of usefulness as far as trying to fix them. It's better to go ahead and resurface it and start over on the cycle.
Right. Okay. I was curious about that because I had some folks ask me, and I wasn't sure. And it's something that I know it saves us money having to repave an entire road if we can patch those areas. And the last thing, the recycling or dumpsters or drop-off locations have been mentioned. What are the guidelines for site preparation or the site location of those? Several years ago, I had an agreement with Apollo Middle School. They wanted to put recycling bins there, like there was at the Legion Fields Kroger, and I was told that the site didn't meet guidelines. I asked for those guidelines to see what they were so that I could help identify a potential location in southeast Davidson County for such a facility, and never received them. I didn't know what the guidelines were. It would be helpful for us as we look for a site for that, sure, to know what the guidelines are.
Sure, I'd be happy to send those to you, and we can put that together for Councilmember Taggart and you and anybody else.
No, Mr. Lovett, if you would send that to Ms. Waller, I think everyone ought to have those guidelines, and then everyone can help you all look.
Absolutely.
There's some, just basic type things. You got to have a place where traffic can obviously come and go. You got to have a lack of sight distance issues. You got to have enough space for these dumpsters. It's this type thing. But we can put something together and send it out to everybody, because the more sets of eyes we have looking for these locations, the better off we're going to be.
Well, I think our additional budgets for this department is a beneficial thing, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilwoman Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lovett, for the presentation. I have two questions. One is I received a call from a constituent today, and the constituent's disabled, and someone stole their trash can, and they wanted to pay for the trash can, and they said they were told that the only way that they could do it was either mail in a check or officially come to your location. And I was wanting to know, do you not have a way to pay online?
I defer to my finder. I don't think we do.
Not at this point, we don't.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
Okay, so yeah, maybe that's something we can incorporate.
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then the second piece was we do, I live in an area where they do street cleaning, but there's no signs or any way for us to know, and I feel like we're just not maximizing. The street cleaner comes through like they're supposed to, but there are cars on the street. So my question to you, is there a way that we can coordinate and get the message out to the residents so that they'll know not to park on that particular side of the street, especially in the urban areas where we tend to park in front of our houses? A couple of us have driveways where we park in the back, but there are a lot of cars, and I just don't feel like we're maximizing the cleanliness that we can benefit from. So is that something that we could work on as well in terms of really coordinating that and really maximizing those opportunities?
Sure, be glad to.
All right then, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Stein. To answer Councilman Claiborne's question earlier about the young lady at the Alejandro Center, that is Sherry Sloan. And Mr. Lovett, we want to definitely give a shout out to her because she does a tremendous job at that location. And Sharon, thank you for your leadership with all of the recycling, because obviously, there's a lot of interest from a lot of council members for the great work that you do. So that's evident that your efforts and your leadership has led to that interest. And also, and finally, I didn't thank you for a special person that takes a lot of time out of his schedule to go to many community meetings, and that's Ali Afis, who is an engineer who is tremendously helpful to all of us as council members, and it just wouldn't have been right for me not to acknowledge the work that he does for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. I'll make sure he hears about the comment.
Councilwoman Weiner.
Ditto that.
I'll make sure he hears about your comment.
Councilwoman Dowell.
I just felt a need to say thank you too. I guess I didn't say it at the beginning, but yes, Ali has been a wonderful help for us in the community. And also I wanted to say thank you for that piece of sidewalk that we received on Mount View Road. I had a text message to tell me to make sure I remember to say that. So we appreciate it, and it's been very well utilized for connectivity. The people at the Senior Center at Hickory Hollow Towers appreciate it, and we picked up a few more bus riders as a result of it. So it's really made a good use, so I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Mr. Lovett, thank you, and thank your staff for all your good work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're ready for MTA.